Hello, my little cephalopods. It's Carla, and today I'm going to make my favorite recipe from my own book, That Sounds So Good, charred squid with blackened tomatoes. I have held back on making this recipe because cephalopods. Squid are amazing. Squid are inexpensive. Squid is one of the seafoods that I would say to you 1 billion cement. Great frozen and then thawed. Everybody should be eating more squid. Good for the world. Good for you. Plus, when I posted a photo that did have tentacles in it of my seafood pasta, it turned out a lot of you guys want to talk about tentacles. Aww. So I'm empowered. I have a vision. I love this recipe. Talk about something good from frozen. I am going to pop this wild grain sourdough bread, which is frozen, into the oven. It's going to bake for about 20 minutes and then it needs to cool down a bit. So that timing aligns perfectly with our prep and our cooking. Crusty bread, charred squid, can't lose. Now that that's going, I am going to get into marinating the squid. The squid, I took a little care in prepping yesterday. If you have just picked your squid up from the market, you don't have to do all this. Because I shopped yesterday, I wanted to have the squid as dry as possible because dry squid will brown better. I learned to use kind of a thin kitchen towel in my first restaurant job at Montrachet because we used to put scallops on them, and it was where I learned it doesn't have to be paper towel for patting stuff dry, right? So you can just use a clean towel. I grabbed this rimmed baking sheet because it fits back into the fridge, and I laid the towel out, and I fully thought that they were all gonna be able to fit on there just loosey-goosey and independent people, I thought they were gonna fit like that. I am not good at spatial stuff. They absolutely didn't fit. So then I started overlapping them. Then I got to the tentacles and I was just carved out a little space for them and stuck them in this quadrant. I had no idea that it looked like a flag until other people laid their eyes on this today. Yeah, be nice to your seafood, so your seafood will be nice to you. Thank you so much to Wild Grain for sponsoring this episode. Wild Grain is the first Bake from Frozen subscription box for sourdough bread, fresh pasta, and artisanal pastries. You can fully customize your box every time, so you can choose exactly what comes in your order. From bread to croissants to seasonal baked goods, there's loads and loads of variety. Wild Grain is also super convenient. Everything that comes in your box can go from frozen to baked in 25 minutes. So you can enjoy quality homemade baked goods even when you don't feel like making them yourself. For me personally, something that I really like that I can choose in my box is the fresh pasta. Fresh pasta is not something that you can get at just any store, and knowing that I've got this socked away in the freezer, I didn't have to go through all the steps of making the fresh pasta, but I can have a really beautiful sauce to go with this on a moment's notice. Love that. And then today I'm going to be making this really saucy, tomatoey, spiced squid dish that has the most delicious sauce. So using this sourdough bread and having it be crispy and hot and steamy when it comes out of the oven, slice into it and use that for dipping. It just means it's a trip to the bakery that I don't have to make for something that is super fresh, straight out of the oven. House smells great. It's just an amazing thing to have at your fingertips. And also, who wouldn't want to have giant chocolate chip cookies pre-portioned in the freezer? You could bake them all. You could bake one. It could be you and one other person, but just having this at the ready when you need that little sweet at 10 p.m., there's nothing better than having this in the freezer. As if this wasn't already going to make you feel good enough, another thing that Wild Grain does that I really love is for every new membership sign up, they donate 4 meals to the Greater Boston Food Bank. If you want to try out Wild Grain, go to the link in the video description and use my code Carla with a C to get $30 off your first box. Plus, you get a free item in every box. I love free stuff. I love knowing I have a frozen loaf of bread in the freezer that I can just pop directly into the oven while I'm cooking my meal. Ooh, and serve nice warm crusty bread with dinner. Soften butter on that, melt it into the yums. This recipe originally was grilled. So on a grill, you can really get like high heat. I obviously am not grilling today. We're indoors and I wanted to modify the instructions and go through it. And sometimes I like to do that because, I don't know, I like to prove to myself and to you that it's like, it's real what I tell you. So olive oil and some pimenton. So the day that I developed this recipe, it was April of 2020. Like it was like deep early pandemic times. And I was developing this book. And before I set out to actually develop the recipes in this book, before it was the pandemic, I had kind of concepted all my chapters and written out the recipes that were going to go in every chapter. And then I was just working my way through the book. So I would like kind of wake up and look at the list of recipes that I hadn't developed and then go figure it out, get the ingredients and go make them. So on this morning, I looked up what I had originally written for this recipe and it was like, it sounded great. It was like spice and paprika squid with like a tomato something or other. And I looked at the recipe and I was like, I have no idea what the I was thinking about when I wrote that down. Like, couldn't pay you to tell me myself what me myself meant when I put all those words together. But it sounded good. So I was like, okay, those things all go together. Paprika, tomato, squid, char. It was in the grilling chapter. But I really didn't know like how to approach it. So I went into my cookbook library and kind of looked at some squid recipes and then looked at some grilling recipes and the blackened tomatoes that are kind of the base for the sauce that I like lifted directly out of a Frances Mallman recipe that was for like a sauce or a salsa. But I was just like, oh, I've never actually blackened a tomato in that way. So I took that and then I think I looked in one of my like flavor books that kind of talks about like what flavors go with what flavors. And then I just gathered up my ingredients and I went out to the grill and I had the kind of cooking adventure that you dream of when you develop recipes for a living, because developing recipes starts to become work and it becomes like very I have to do this, do that, test it this way, do it that way. And you can sometimes like lose just like the creative, fun playfulness of it. And especially working on a book, it's just like you have a deadline and you got to get this shit done and it has to work and it has to look good. And because I didn't really know what I was doing, I had a vague vision for the dish. And then I just got out there because I love grilling so much and I love live fire and the smoke and the outdoors and the cephalopods. And I just had this like really fun day of cooking where I wasn't really worried about what the steps were going to be. I was just kind of figuring it out. And then it ended up being freaking delicious. Like so good and it tasted so great. And it was a one and done. It doesn't happen all the time. I love all these flavors. It just all really came together. So I think I've been like reluctant to make this video because in my head, I went back to like more of a data-driven approach to my work. And it's just like, people don't like squid. Meh. Like, nobody likes squid. Don't do it. Like, and you know what? That's not a way to live. I can't make up what you guys like and don't like. I can only talk about what I like and what brings me joy. And if we overlap, then like bingo bango. That's what's happening. And so, yeah, joyous recipe. Why should this recipe get dinged? Because who knows who said something some other time. I have made recipes because somebody was like, this is a thing and people are looking for this and people are looking for that. Okay, cool. I can get with the program. And then I develop something that like isn't me, but maybe it's you. And you guys see right through that stuff. Everybody knows. So now I'm asking you to get on board with like something I like. The other little bit of prep are the tomatoes. So I'm just gonna cut these in half. They're gonna cook on this cut side down the whole time. And if y'all don't have or have ever looked at or borrowed from the library, Francis Mallman's Seven Fires, like if you love grilling and kind of get like turned on by that fire, smoke, dust, animal magic, such a moving and beautiful book. He's Argentinian. It's like ridiculous. It's like there's recipes that call for like 1 gallon of salsa verde because you need enough sauce for an entire bowl. So it's like super crispy, feels really like the right amount of crust to squeezy, and because it needs 20 minutes to cool down, I get to do all this and then we can cut into it. Fab. All right. So adapting this from the outdoor grill, I have a large skillet. I'm going to get it going with some olive oil and just start with these scallions. So the sauce itself is going to pick up a lot of flavors from the pimenton that's on the squid. So for the scallions themselves, I can keep the seasoning pretty straightforward because everything kind of builds. It's a lot of simple things that then build cumulatively to make something greater than the parts. So it feels a little steppy, but it's like I want everything to have its moment to be cooked to its perfection, and then they're just like joining up to go to the ball together. All right, so I'm going to cook these until they're nice and softened. I want to see some color on them. Because this was adapted from a grill, these went directly on grill grates and got like, you know, a lot of color quickly. So we'll just see if that timing aligns. And then they're coming out. These look gorgeous and perfect. So I'm going to take them out. And everything is going to happen in this serving bowl. So choose something that can accommodate, which hopefully, hopefully I have done. Get a little salt. So for this, it might get a little smoky. I also might not get the same level of char. But I'm cooking these cut side down until you'll notice that the like fleshy side, the side that's domed up, is starting to wrinkle and collapse. And they're gonna feel softened if you squeeze them. And if we peek underneath, the color of the cut surface in the pan should be like very, very, very dark. I'm gonna nudge the heat up a tiny bit. This is gonna take 6-ish, 8-ish minutes, or maybe a little more. Okay, so in a pan it's a little different than on the grill, but I got some nice charring and kind of resisting the urge to add more fat because, and it's ironic because I've said in other videos, you know, that you need a good amount of fat in the pan to prevent charring. Because like dryness is a charring thing, and having enough available fat is more of like a browning and a caramelizing. In this case, we do like, the point is to get the char and the smokiness. And it's like, it's a different flavor, so it's also a slightly different technique. I'm gonna use this pan again, but I'm gonna need to rinse it out before the next step. So I'm just gonna add a little water to it, which is gonna these have cooled down enough to a place where in my impatience, I think I can start messing around with them. So depending on how hot they are, you're just gonna slip them out of the skins. And then you could use your hands or a spoon like this and just want to kind of coarsely tear up the tomato flesh. And I want that, it's gonna be saucy. The squid's gonna get mixed into all this. But I like having some discernible texture. I don't think I even peppered the scallions initially, so this is a good time to do that. Yum. All right, I'm going back to medium-high heat. I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of oil. 2, 3. And I'm going to let this get hot enough to shimmer. And the 2 spices, whole spices that I chose are cumin and coriander. Tomato and cumin are fantastic together. Coriander and scallion are so good together. I feel like something like squid with the pimenton like can stand up to that cumin flavor also, and then the coriander has like a lot of brightness to it. I don't know, they just work. So these are gonna go in. I'm gonna cook them till they're popping and toasted. And this is the, you know, in a Euro-derived kind of culinary tradition, they would call this blooming the spices. It's also known in Indian cooking as a Tadka. But the principle is the same. You've got this like hot fat. You're cooking your spices. That is blooming the aromatics in them. Browning them brings out their flavor. They have essential oils. They have a lot of like whatever the things are that go in your nose. And they're gonna start popping really quickly. And then this mixture, which is like very like fresh with all of those spice notes, is going to season this tomato situation. And that sizzle, you want that, right? That's like the hot fat from the spice mixture interacting with the liquid content from our tomato sauce. Last up is cooking the squid. Back in the same pan, I wiped it out. Because the squid was already tossed with oil, I don't think I need to add more to the pan. That said, I don't want to crowd the pan because I want to get really good browning. And what I'm looking for with the squid is for them to be cooked through with some nice color on them. And the tentacles might cook faster than the bodies. The other thing that's really normal is that the squid bodies, when they're whole like this, some of the moisture from the squid that's released while it's cooking sometimes ends up like inside the squid body. And if I see that, we're gonna add it to the sauce. All right, I'm gonna stop touching them so they can brown, and they should cook pretty fast, like 4 or 5 minutes at the most. And I'm gonna flip these around, check our browning. Ooh, very nice. It smells like the smokiness of the pimenton. It smells so good in here, just like sunshine and ocean breezes. Really nice color. Just toss the tentacles around. So you can see that like liquid that accumulates. We want that. Like adding it to make a little pan sauce almost. I mean, if you like fried calamari, you already like squid. It's just a different delivery system. I'm really excited to eat this. I think it looks gorgeous. I think actually if we look at the picture in the book, I think I did pretty good. Like even with adapting to indoors. So like, yay me. All right, so a little extra drizzle of the olive oil because we love fat in this house. And I'm just gonna combine a bit so the tomato sauce and the squid essence like kind of come together here. Any juices that were accumulated from just the squid kind of cooling down now have also mingled with the tomato sauce that I made. So the sauce just keeps getting like better and better. All right, so the way that I like to serve it is like get a few pieces of squid bodies. And if you can't get squid bodies and tentacles, because sometimes even in the frozen packs, the squid is cut like into thick rings or whatever. You can totally use that, especially for this indoor method. And they're just gonna cook really quick. So make sure that your pan is really nice and hot. Yummy, gorge. And there's just so much sauciness happening. And then I've also got my nice hot bread, which has been sitting and cooling down. I mean, I'm such a tentacle girl, if that's a thing. So tender. Did you see how that sliced? I mean, if that was a steak, it would be a juicy ribeye. All right, I got a little tentacle. I got a little piece of body. I got a nice little tomato saucy. There's even a little scallion right there. Mmm. 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 Mm-hmm. Still got it. And I will tell you something else. 1 teaspoon of cumin goes a long way. The coriander is also so nice. I love the pop of the spices. Crazy. So good. You know when you're at a restaurant and they're like, are you all done with the bread? Or like, you guys all done with that plate? And it's like, no, we have like, still have pieces of bread and there's still sauces to be sopped up. So we're not going to be done until those things are all gone. I pledge allegiance to the United Federation of Squidticles. And if you're along for the ride just to see me make squid, welcome. If you're here because you are squid curious, please enter. And if you already know that you love squid and you just can't wait to put all these things together, you and me, we're the same, because I couldn't wait either. You have to honor the things you love and not worry about if the other people love what you love, because it's your love. But if you can share that love with others and bring that love and then they also love, then the next thing you know, you have created an intentional community of cephalopods. And we're gonna rule the world. 100%. Also, this video is for all of the people who love to comment, I don't eat meat, and here I am watching Carla like cook a steak. So I know that there's some of you out there who don't cook a goddamn thing that I ever cook, and this is for you. Let's just have fun like making it and chatting. Like, definitely there were people who watched the apple fritter video who were like, I'm never in the span of my lifetime gonna make these apple fritters, but will I watch you make them? 100%. So, great. Here's another one.